Hey everybody, welcome to season 2, episode 1 of the sales stage. Today we covered some very relevant topics as it pertains to live events, now going digital, and we have two extremely special guests, Gillian and Courtney, joining us today, and they're going to go over some of the strategies that they've used to help drive results, and hopefully, for everyone who's in the situation and every company that's in the situation, you guys can take some tidbits away from this on how they've made a pretty huge impact in, the live event world. Not only that, we're going to see if they truly are best friends in a game that we like to call Who Knows Whom Better / who knows who better in the newlywed
game. It's the newlywed game.
It is going to be incredible. You are going to be very angry if you don't tune in. Trust me on that one. Oh, we're selling all the products and we're telling prospects what we got. Yeah, we're selling the next phase. We'll use lots of buzzwords. It's the next big craze. Jimmy and Rava show. Welcome to the sales stage. Sales stage. Hey everybody, Jimmy here. Welcome back to season 2 of the sales stage. I am super excited for a magnitude of reasons. The first being that our show was picked up for its second season. So that is super exciting. I know Rava was jazzed right up about it. In season 1, we covered a slew of wonderful sales topics, which seem to have resonated. So luckily we were picked up for season 2. And to kick off season 2, we have two extremely special guests. Not only were they in my direct vision when we worked in an office, but they are also two of the most fabulous personalities that we have at Vidyard. And we're going to be talking about, Rava, what's the topic? It is virtual, all things virtual, the shift to virtual events, the shift to everything digital. And they're going to tell their story around that.
Event related,
virtual event related. I was so close, but that's just because my excitement is there and my heart is just pounding out of my chest because I'm super excited. So
as usual, we're going to have our guests introduce themselves in the awkward third person. And so maybe we will start with Courtney. Do you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, Courtney Christie, sales rep that has been with Vidyard for almost 2 years. Most people could accurately and without narrator's bias describe Courtney as breathtaking, funny, charismatic, confident. It's hard to put it all in one shell, probably a walnut shell if you were going to choose. When she's not slinging pipeline for AEs, you can find her in a sunny nook painting with watercolors, hiking coastal trails, getting Rava's life history wrong, or denying being hangry. There's not really much else to say about her, but she's so nervous and happy to be here.
She sounds like just an overall hashtag. You're just an overall hashtag of everything.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what the community says about her. So
that is great. I'm so happy to have you on, Courtney. And Gillian, equally awkward introduction.
Of course. So yes, Gillian Wyatt, a sales rep and video development specialist, has been with Vidyard for just about a year. Complete opposite to Courtney, not just in color scheme, but in personality. Gillian is shy, introverted, has zero sense of humor, and has never once been sarcastic, ever in her life. And if you find Jill the Thrill in her natural habitat, you can usually find her watching a thriller, reading a thriller, going on a thrilling hike with her pup Jackson, or thrillingly watching Courtney cry. And yeah, that's a little about Jill.
That's great. I think these
polar opposites, I'm gonna catch you on that, because the more conversations, I'm gonna find you being sarcastic at one point, or I'm gonna assume that you're being sarcastic on it.
Never.
And how
Never.
can you say you have zero sense of humor? Like, you laugh at all of my hilarious jokes. Are you just doing that to make me feel good?
She
What's
said she
happening
has
here?
she has zero sense of humor.
Yeah, zero.
Oh, so you're basically saying I'm not funny.
That's funny you say that. I interpreted that as Jill just might not know how to be funny, but she can recognize the king of kings when it comes to humor, I think.
Oh wow. I think Courtney.
I'm on her side. I'm on her side.
All right. Well, we have such an exciting episode today, and I think we're trying to bring a lot of relevant episodes just based on a lot of the changes that have been happening. But this one's a big one where everyone is so used to, like our marketers are very used to having budget every year for some in-person events, whether those are like the big Dreamforce or HubSpot Inbound, those types of conferences, or industry specific ones. But even smaller, maybe like user conferences and things like that. So with last year and this whole pandemic, that's totally been flipped on its head. And I'm really excited to dive into like what Gillian and Courtney have been doing at Vidyard to dive into like these virtual events and try to make them work and try to make them a bit more interactive and fun for everyone, because I know the best part about conferences is actually meeting people and in person and things like that. So maybe we'll just get started with, because this is relatively new, I would say for both of you, like maybe within the last quarter or so, where you really started to like solidify this strategy with events. So maybe you could start by answering like, how did the SDR and BDR team used to manage live events and leads that came from live events, and how are you managing them now?
Yeah, absolutely. I personally never actually got to do a live event. I started at Vidyard, and within my first month, we went work from home. So I have been fully virtual events. So Courtney has some great insights into kind of what that used to look like versus the pivot to virtual.
Yeah, from an SDR BDR perspective, I think a chosen few would be sent to either a local live event or one that required flying and staying at. So it was structured a lot differently, where our calendars would get booked out completely. We would basically be off the floor and focusing entirely at these conferences. So we wouldn't be taking our calls. We wouldn't be taking any kind of shifts to help monitor inbound leads. And we'd really just be focused 100% on the action at the conferences that we were attending. So you would start as soon as the event started and opened up for the public, and you would just sort of talk to people, engage with people, try to get their information, and then that information would be sent to our teams to then reach out and follow up with the event. So that was really the structure of it. And then you would come home and continue to work those leads and go from there.
Also, like knowing that and how that lead flow used to look, when we switched to virtual events, and you started working these, like what was the biggest challenge with switching to virtual events and working these events?
I think the biggest challenge was that we started to do the same structure where we would book off our calendars, but from work from home, especially at the beginning, it was really hard to create this balance of I'm at this separate event, because you were still fully accessible to your laptop, to Slack, to your email. And so we were blocking off our calendars to still monitor booth traffic, but it really just, at the end of the day, it felt like you were twiddling your thumbs waiting for people to come in, because booth traffic wasn't in existence anymore. People weren't coming to check out Vidyard's virtual booth. And so you really kind of just sat around and ended up just doing your work, but still having to maintain the event. And so I think that was very difficult for me, especially being so used to the live events and having to, a year of experiencing them, and going from being used to being super busy and full of excitement to then just radio silence at these events.
Yeah, and not to mention that kind of between speakers at live events, people could work the floor, kind of stumble upon your booth to learn a little bit more. People weren't actively searching out booths on virtual events. They were going to the sessions and then they'd go either do their own work, go for lunch. Like they weren't actively going out and participating with the sponsor booths that were at these virtual events. So like Courtney said, we were kind of just twiddling our thumbs, waiting for people to come by, and we weren't seeing the traffic that historically everyone on our team had said that they would see at live events.
Yeah, the leads were very lacking, especially.
And less engaged.
Well, I can see that. And there's one question I want to kind of save to the end, but it kind of is relevant now where, I mean, luckily for me, I got to take part in lots of events, and quite frankly, they get old quick. And I always say this, I always say that when you're working like the booth at an event, like it is the longest, hardest days, although it seems fun. And on the outside, you're like, yeah, this is so great. Inside, you're like, I need to like sit down. And I always wonder, like all of the people that go to these events, I'm like, I wonder what percentage of these people come to San Francisco and actually are going to attend these, or do they like actually attend a couple sessions and then kind of like putter around and go have some fun. But anyway, where I was going with that is that it was like very easy when you're working the floor to have someone say, because you're talking face to face, oh yeah, I'm definitely interested. Just send me over some details or reach out. What do you guys see, or like what has your strategy been to try and engage? Because yeah, everyone's got to be reserved, because I think for a couple of reasons. One, it is newer for them to be like the form in which like they're attending these sessions and learning, but also there's really no rules. There's no like rules in place. Like everyone knows, and when you go to those events, there's 15 minutes between sessions. It means floor is open and people are promoted to walk the floor, right? So what kind of strategies did you guys put into place to try and at least get people engaged, and at the very least get some brand recognition that we're trying to do some new things here?
Yeah, I'll start if that's okay, Jill.
Yeah, of course.
I think you're right. I think it definitely felt like the lawless wild west, where everyone was really just stumbling around and creating their own rules and path for virtual events. And so similar to what I think people would do if they went to San Francisco and they'd go to some events but then sightsee, I felt like the first half of the year I was actually attending a lot more of the seminars and the talks, which I wouldn't normally have done if I was working an event. And then it just hit me where I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like this isn't just how I want to work these events. I need to be busier. We need to focus differently. And the great thing about Vidyard is we're really a platform to allow a virtual connection through the use of asynchronous video. And so suddenly it dawned on me that I can be reaching out to people and still introducing myself and putting that face to the name in a sort of virtual handshake, by actually reaching out to people and engaging with them first, which is a bit different than I was used to at booths in person, but was definitely a strategy I felt we should take on. And I pulled Jill in, and we just started to create this strategy of using video completely at these virtual events and being a virtual presence. And so our booth bios are video, our personal bios are video instead of words. If we're reaching out to anyone, a lot of the virtual event platforms have a text similar to what you would see on LinkedIn, where they give you that very generic let's connect message. We decided to replace all of that with video as well, and sort of ask to connect via video rather than text, and we went with that strategy.
Yeah, me and especially Courtney's initial strategy was very much to keep it almost like we were at a live event, keep our faces in front of people as much as possible, make those interactions so that people knew who we were, just like if they were walking by our booth and they would see our face. So try to keep it as close to being in person as possible. And the closest thing to being in person is video. So we really tried to implement that in everything we did across every virtual event that we worked.
Yeah, I think one of the key goals at the end of every virtual event now for Jill and I is similar to what Jimmy brought up, where we want to be smiling and making videos by 5 p.m. still, but feeling completely dead inside. We want that similar feeling to an event.
Our end goal.
Yeah,
you're just like totally exhausted.
Yeah, and if we don't feel like that, it doesn't feel like a successful event.
Yeah,
for sure. And I love like the thinking outside the box, and I think it's super relevant in today's world, right? I love that you guys use our product in a fashion where it's like, that's not a use case that we chase or that we've drawn up. It's just organically leveraging our platform to do what you can do in these times, which I really love.
Can you tell me, I have a question. So like, let's say you're working an event and there are like 1,000 people who are attending the conference. Do you send out like 1,000 videos? How are you picking who to send a video to?
For me personally, a lot of the times, so everyone who signs up has a bio. So depending on what platform you're using, a lot of the times in the bio, it'll say what brought them to the conference. So certain sponsors or certain sessions. So if there's anything about the sessions that are video related, sometimes even on those bios, it'll say interested in learning more about video platforms, interested in buying a video platform. So those are kind of the first people we're reaching out to because they're already telling us they're engaged. It's basically a big billboard being like, please talk to me. So those are the initial people that we reach out to, or other people who are engaged in the chats of sessions that are focused on video. And then we'll reach out to kind of anyone who looks like they might have a company that's relevant to what our ICP would be. So that's kind of how we target, but a lot of people will see our video bios or us reaching out in chats, and they'll try to reach out to us, being like, hey, video isn't something I thought about, but I loved your video. Can I learn more? So just by using video at virtual events, we get a lot of people responding to us. So we don't necessarily have to do all of the outreach.
I think, sorry, Reva.
I was gonna say it's really cool, and I really like how you're taking strategies that are very important in prospecting for anyone who's prospecting, where you have to find something relevant and find something valuable to connect on. And so, like you said, it's like a billboard. If someone says, I'm interested in innovating how I prospect or using video, if they're like just going to say outright what they're interested in. And so for people who are listening and thinking about how they can maybe use video to get more out of the virtual events, just looking at someone's bio and seeing if they're interested in something that your company solves, and then reaching out to them in this really innovative way to talk about, hey, I saw you're interested in X. So not necessarily just video because we sell video and they say video. It's like anyone can use this kind of approach. So I love that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Courtney, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that similar to if you're at an event where there's 1,000 people, just to read the room like you would if you were prospecting regularly through LinkedIn. If I see someone in the list of people that technically is under the tags that I've entered for people interested in video, they have nothing in their profile filled out. I'm not going to spend that 30 seconds to a minute making a video because they don't seem as engaged in the event and they might have just signed up, forgotten about it, and I could be using that time to make a video for someone that's actually going to take the time to watch it and to engage with it and to actually find value in it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just kind of tearing out who seems most engaged, reading the room. I love that.
Yeah. I'd be curious too, and this isn't necessarily around your strategy, but have you seen a difference in, let's call it like 9 months worth of virtual events? And I'm sure at the start they were a bit choppy and people are still figuring them out. What's the progression you've seen within virtual events? Have you noticed like them getting better, them getting a little bit more streamlined, more engaging? What are some of the trends that you've seen with them?
I'm about to sneeze. I'm so sorry.
Then I'll take it.
I was gonna say my bad questions do that to people, so I apologize.
I was just gonna remind you that Charlie may or may not decide to edit it out, so it better be a cute sneeze.
I think it like went all the way up and then burned, and that's why my eyes are watering, so I don't think it's gonna come out now. I just love your work so much.
The question was so well positioned, Jimmy.
Yeah.
It was like poetry.
An emotional time for me.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, Jill, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, in terms of how I personally have seen them progress, at the beginning, everyone wanted live. Every session had to be a live session. Live streaming was huge. And over the past couple months, me and Courtney worked an event with Impact, and a lot of their sessions were actually asynchronous, and it made way more sense. They had sessions about graphic design, and so they were actually able to implement the graphic design elements into their video, which they wouldn't have been able to do in a live session. So a lot of people now are kind of seeing the value in not necessarily having a live conversation, but having an asynchronous video that they can bring more value to that event with. So I think that's one way that a lot of the events have progressed in the past couple months, which has been really cool and nice to see.
Yeah.
I'll add to that I think async, I've been on a few async panels, for instance, and I love that you can record the video, but then you can join the session and be very present in the Q&A.
Yes.
Whereas if you're presenting live and you're trying to like add value in the chat, it's very overwhelming. So I think async is such a good improvement for live events. I totally agree.
Completely agree.
I was going to echo that. I think too there's been such a demand on the platforms performing a lot better as well. At the beginning, I saw a lot of platforms that didn't have a lot of community engagement and didn't have a lot of depth to them. It was basically just go watch the session, engage in the live chat, and then that was it. Whereas I feel like there's a much more demand for that personal connection beyond the session. So I have my favorite platforms that I think really elevate the community engagement. And then I've been at events where people have been like, not enough community engagement. I want to be able to talk to people about the sessions. I want to be able to ask questions and engage in forums. And so there's much more of a demand for that, because I think people are at the point of virtual events where they want the personal engagement with other attendees back.
I find it's probably like most races in technology, right? Like if you've attended an event that was really well run, the platform allowed for a lot of engagement and allowed, for you to understand the other people on the other side of the screen a little bit more. And then you go to one that's not quite up to par. It's like you're left craving that. So there's a race between, the platforms to see like who can add the most things and who can make it the most engaging, and then the next company is going to have to match that and try and beat it. So I can only see it getting better and better as we go.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see how. I'd be curious to see like some of the most exciting parts of events were like concerts or the dinners or things like that. So I'd be curious to see like what some people have to bring when it comes to that this year.
Yeah.
Cameo. That's a big thing this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Well, Jimmy, do you have any other questions for Courtney or Jill, or do we want to get into our fun game?
I think we'll get into the fun game. The one question I had, and this will be like another contrast of like previous state, now current state. Going to events live, you had to do a lot of communicating and collaboration with marketing, right? Whether we were hosting the event, whether we were sponsoring the event, whether we were just attending the event. So there's a lot of collaboration that had to happen with marketing. Has that changed at all with live events? Do you still got to do a lot of work with marketing, and how has that experience been? And maybe what are some of the differences that you've seen?
Yeah, I think that marketing still has such a huge role in this space. They're still finding the events for us and organizing them and making sure that we have the information that we need to be successful. So the more, I think, collaborative that marketing is with the sales teams on these, the more successful they're going to be. So if you give your sales rep the information needed on what the event's going to be, what the target personas are attending the event, what the sort of theme of the event is, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's virtual selling itself, and giving enough time for that sales rep to organize their calendar to be 100% committed to that event with no distractions or interruptions, I think the better the lead acquiring is going to be for both sides.
Yeah, I agree with Courtney. And marketing gives us a lot of leeway in what we actually do at the event and how we approach meeting people and approach our use of video. But they definitely, like Courtney said, they're setting up these events for us. They're getting the sponsorships. There's a lot of collaboration pre-event. And then at the event, they kind of let us run it like we know how to.
Yeah, they're our foundation.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know both of you are both wonderful at thinking outside the box. So congrats on being the trailblazers. My final question that I had for you, right, is I know this is something that I don't want you guys just take strict credit for, because I know you guys have done a lot of work within it, and I don't want to bring up the word copycats. Have you seen other folks trying to duplicate the efforts that you guys have been doing at events? Like, have you seen that? And then what's your gut reaction? Like, hey, this is my thing, or is it like, this is great, we've started this trend, right?
Yeah, at the first event that I sort of tried out this experience, it was very similar, where everything was text-based and answering questions in text. And then I noticed on the second day, about halfway through, that a competitor had suddenly added video to all their bios and were suddenly answering questions with video. And about 10 people from their company creeped me on LinkedIn. And so it was pretty nice to see that, not that I started it or anything, but it was nice to see that it grabbed the attention of the competitors to start thinking. But then I think even going beyond competitors, it's been nice for Jill and I to go to events where we see some familiar faces from companies. And I'll let Jill tell the second part of that experience.
Yeah, we'll go to virtual events now, and me and Courtney will show up on the first day, and we'll see people that we've actually met at previous events that now have video in their bios. People that we've talked to who are now implementing video for networking. We see it in their bios, in community threads, or we'll just get people who have seen us at a previous event. They'll reach out to us on LinkedIn being like, hey, I'd love to start using video at virtual events. How are you using it? I saw it in your bio. Are you like, how can I implement it? So it's been really cool to see just across everyone that we're meeting at virtual events that it's kind of shining, that everyone's seeing our videos, and and it's making its claim.
That's awesome. Everyone's craving some like personal connection, right? And so when you're on Zoom calls like this, everyone has their camera on. It's nice to see everyone, but at a virtual event and you're just like behind your computer taking part in the sessions, it's like you're craving that human face-to-face connection.
I say it's similar to like when you get like mail nowadays. You're like, oh, there is something for me. Hey, someone sent me something. This is nice. What is it?
I love getting mail now.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, again, like, congrats to both of you. I know this has been a big part of our strategy, at Vidyard, especially trying to get the most out of these events, right? Because I always find it's very difficult, because what is the expectation going in? I know this was a tremendous lead source for, not just Vidyard, but all companies. And how do we pivot that to make it as educational as possible, so that the leads that do come in are very educated, and highly qualified, right? And you guys are doing a great job of, one, showcasing the tool, but ultimately, showcasing a different way and a new way to do something. So, congrats on that. And I only say, I'm only singing your praises because I know we're going to get into a game, and there's probably going to be some animosity within here afterwards. So I just want everyone to be in a good mood, just in case you guys don't know each other quite as well as you think you do.
Yeah, Charlie's going to use that clip of me sneezing, but it looks like I'm crying at the end of this. I don't do anything.
Like the Bachelor editing.
Yes. It'll be me getting a question wrong about Courtney or something, and Courtney just crying.
Charlie, please take note.
She gets so angry that she sneezes.
I'm excited for this. Do you girls know what we're playing?
Not really.
Was that an eyebrow raise? Do you know what we're playing?
We're playing the Newlywed Game.
Oh my gosh, that's so great, because I've always wanted to be a newlywed.
There we go. This is step one. We'll get your boyfriend to tune in, Courtney.
Is that what this is actually called? I thought it was, I had it coined here as who knows who better. Should it be whom better? I don't know.
This is a bit more of a catchy. This is a bit more of a catchy title. Newlyweds for non-newlyweds.
Yeah. Yep. Newlywed, the Vidyard's best friend edition.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yes, Charlie, insert key logo. Okay, and we've got it. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so how do we want to do this, Rave? I was thinking that maybe we kind of like go back and forth. So maybe you can ask Gillian the questions. I'll ask Courtney the questions.
Sure. Do you want to put it in the Google Doc, Jimmy?
No. I thought I sent it to you.
By
I sent it to you via Slack.
Who uses Slack? You tell me not to use Slack.
I sent them to you today.
Let me dig it up.
The game is already creating tension.
Yes. And it's not.
We are Trust me, we are normally so organized. It's uncanny.
There we
Okay, they're in
go.
the Google Doc. Oh, you added them too? It's the Google Doc.
We're fine.
We both just added them at the same time.
Okay, perfect. So you cover questions for Gillian, and then
Okay.
we'll go back and forth. Now, like what's going to happen is Raven's going to ask Gillian a question. She's going to answer, and then Courtney, you can give whether the answer was right or not.
Like a this.
Oh, okay.
Or
Okay.
whatever you want. Oh no, actually to pick it up on Zoom, you're gonna have to say yes or no.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Should we go into that Google Doc as well?
No.
No.
No, don't touch it.
I know. I'm just kidding.
No. For
We
these virtual
obviously
games.
we don't explain
Virtual
things very well. Okay, cool. So am I gonna start, Jimmy?
I react
Yes, you
well to
are.
being yelled at, so it's fine.
No, we didn't need to yell at you. I'm sorry. Okay, so here we go. These are questions for Gillian about Courtney. Let's
Okay.
see how well you know each other.
Oh, yikes.
Okay, so number one, what is Courtney's favorite color?
I am going to say, oh my God, I feel like this is easy and I'm not going to get it. Is it orange? I was between orange and green.
Do I answer
But it's
now?
purple.
Yes, you can answer now.
Okay, kind of orange. My favorite color is mustard.
Oh, okay. That's pretty
So
close.
I consider
That's one of my favorite condiments.
Me too. I love
Unbelievable.
mustard.
I'm just an overall mustard gal, personally.
Okay. I was gonna say this is extra cool because you are both what's that game called?
Newlyweds.
No,
Operation
no.
Uno.
where you oh my god, the random facts.
Trivia.
Trivia. You're both trivia queens.
That we are. We've been to trivia together.
Yeah.
There you go. So this is trivia. Okay, next question. What is Courtney's favorite season?
Ooh, I'm going to say fall.
Very
Fall is
mustardy
correct.
season.
Yeah, I don't
Oh.
know if you can tell by my whole aesthetic.
All right. What is Courtney's
Wait.
best hidden talent? What? She
Well, I was
said
gonna say
fall.
we're supposed to. I know, but we're supposed to be going back and forth. So then I ask a question,
Oh.
so that it's not all.
Well,
But
why?
hey, okay,
Should we
okay,
restart
continue
that?
on.
No,
Oh,
you go.
Charlie, no editing. We're going live here.
so should
Okay.
Jimmy
No,
ask me a
ask that one, then I'll ask three in a row. Then we'll go one and one.
Okay.
Finish your question.
What is Courtney's best hidden talent?
She's going to say no, but her best hidden talent is how well she draws and paints.
Nope.
I think that my hidden talent is that I can play music, but like this is gonna sound so bad. My hidden talent is I can make I can make a musical instrument, not singing, but with my mouth. Give me a song.
Do we
Give me
need
a song.
an example? I think.
Give me a song. I-
Anything by
I-
Celine Dion?
Girl, 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 girl. Girl, 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 girl. I actually don't know Celine Dion that well. Was that good though? That's my hidden.
I don't.
I'm gonna be
think-
honest. I don't know what happened there. I'm not sure what happened. I'm gonna have to actually watch it. So I know Gillian's got to head super quick. So I've got a couple for Courtney.
Yes.
Courtney, what is Gillian's favorite band?
Oh, ooh, trick question. It's solo artist Courtney Christie singing with her mouth.
Correct.
All right. Who is it?
Band, I would probably have to say Band of Horses. I love Band of Horses.
Me too, Jill.
Oh my, you think you know someone and we've just never chatted about
Their
it.
acoustic album is so good.
Yes, love Band of Horses.
There
I
we
love
go.
them too.
We're
I know
bringing
too.
friends together, Jimmy.
Second question for Courtney. What is Gillian's biggest pet peeve?
Oh, I think Jillian's biggest pet peeve is when people don't work as hard as she does.
Yeah, actually, I would say that's true.
I love that pet peeve.
That is the best pet peeve to have in a growth environment, because like if you're not keeping pace with Gillian,
Get
you're
out of
off
here.
the bus. Yeah.
I love that.
Here's a good one that'll ask, because I know we've only got a couple minutes. Here's one for you, Courtney. Would Gillian rather be a magician or a chef?
Oh, magician, easy.
Hands
Jill's
down.
Wow.
Yeah, hands down magician.
I
That's
know,
great.
underrated. Not everyone knows that, like, once you've seen one magician perform live, you're like, if I could do that, I would be probably the coolest person in the history of the world.
Yeah, they
Be a
say
chef, you're like, oh, that was great. But see someone perform a trick, you're like, oh,
yeah,
that's
they say
magic.
it's the most infectious career of the world.
I saw David Copperfield when I was 6. It's just stuck with me forever.
She's never been the same since.
Yeah.
I can see it. I can see in your work, it's influenced heavily by David Copperfield. And I'm on a Modern Family kick, so I'm big on Phil Dunphy these days. So that's why that question came to my mind. So maybe I think we've got 2 minutes. We've got time for one more.
No, we don't. We don't have time for one more. This is the end of the game, and we're going to have to do the outro. There you are.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.